A very good evening to you all, students. This is the first session after the first term exam, and the topic which I've selected for discussion today is from the geography part. The name of the lesson is Globe Model of the Earth, and it is on page number 13. The chapter is 2. Students, before I start with the discussion on the selected topic, it is very important that we know some of the essential points which we have learned in the previous lesson and which can help us in the discussion and understanding this lesson. We all know that the Sun is the mother of all planets and is actually a star. And all the heavenly bodies and planets revolves around it in a fixed elliptical path called orbit. All the planets go around the Sun in the similar direction. And out of the 8 planets that we have in our solar system, our planet Earth is the third nearest planet to the Sun, which not only revolves around the Sun, but it also rotates or spins on its own axis. As the Earth is spherical in shape, so the part where the sun rays fall is daytime, and the part which does not receive the sun rays is night. And the period of day and night is 24 hours. The planet Earth, it takes approximately 365 days to complete one revolution around the Sun. So these are some of the points that we need to remember while learning our second chapter. Okay, today in this session, we shall learn about globe and its uses, the imaginary lines of the globe that helps us in locating places, and how places are located on the globes, as well as how they are located on the flat map. Students, before I continue with the topic and before I start the first paragraph, I request all of you to go through the new words that has been given on page number 13, and it is important that you keep in mind the new words along with their meanings, because it will make you easier to learn the lesson. Let me also quickly go through the new words for you. The first new word given in your textbook is Anthetic Circle. It means the latitude of an angular distance of 66.5 degrees south of Equator. Arctic Circle. It means the latitude of an angular distance of 66.5 degrees north of Equator. Next is the Equator. Equator means the imaginary line encircling the Earth midway between the North Pole and the South Pole. Then we have the new word globe. It means an artificial sphere on whose surface is drawn a map of Earth. Then comes latitude. It means lines on the globe running parallel to equator. Then we have longitude, which means semicircular lines on the globe running from North Pole to South Pole. Then we have the meridian, which means an imaginary half circle passing through both poles. Then the next word given in your textbook is Tropic of Cancer. It means circle in the northern hemisphere at an angular distance of 23.5 degrees north of equator. Next is the Tropic of Capricorn, which means the latitude of an angular distance of 23.5 degrees south in the southern hemisphere. The next word is zone, which means torrid zone, area between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Next we have the temperate zone, which means area between the tropics and 66.5° north and south. The last word given is Temperate Zone, which means area between the Arctic and Anthetic Circles and the North and South Poles. Students, there is an important information on globe that is given on page number 13. It says that the oldest existing globe is from Nuremberg and the year given here is 1492. Let me start the discussion by reading the first paragraph for you. Here it says, we have already learned that the earth is shaped like an orange, a sphere with part of its top flat. A spherical model of the earth is called globe. On the surface of the globe, the oceans and continents are shown in true proportion. Looking at the globe, we can know how much of the earth is covered with seas and oceans. We can also compare the size of two continents, say Africa and Australia. A number of imaginary lines are drawn on the globe. These lines help us to locate places on the surface of the earth. The flat end of the earth at the top and bottom are the north and south poles. These poles are joined by an imaginary line called the axis of the earth. The axis runs inside the spherical model. Another imaginary line is drawn in such a way that all points on these lines are midway between the two poles. This has been named as Equator. Equator divides the earth into the northern and the southern hemispheres. All points on the equator itself are 0 degree. The angular distance from the equator to any of the two poles is 90 degree on both sides, north and south. In ancient times, people thought that our earth is flat. But due to the different discoveries and inventions made by the geologists and the sailors, we now know that the earth is not flat, it is round and is in the shape of an orange, which means that the earth is not perfectly sphere and it is not perfectly round, but it is slightly flattened in the top pole and bulges in the middle. So this shape is called as a spherical in shape. The earth is where we live in, and so it is important for us to know about it. So how can we gather information about our earth? It is not possible for us to go into the space to know about our planet earth. So in this matter, what we can do is that we can take the help of the globe. Now here let me tell you what is a globe. A globe is a miniature form of our earth. It is a model of the earth. Okay, globe can be of different shapes and sizes, and it can be rotated like you might have seen the earth rotating around the sun. So a globe is a small representation or replica of the earth and is the best source of guide for us in order to understand about our planet earth. Countries, continents and oceans can be shown in their true proportions and correct sizes in a globe. In the outer portion or crust of the earth, we can see the location of different countries, continents and oceans. Similarly, when you look at the globe, you will find the same thing in the correct size and proportion. Apart from that, we can also see how much of the earth is covered with water like seas and oceans. We can also compare the size of continents in a globe. So, in short, the globe is a true representation of our planet Earth. Earth can also be represented on a flat surface like a world map, but there will be a little bit of differences as we all know that our Earth is round in shape. So when we see only one side of the Earth and not the other side, but when we want to know more about the Earth, including how and from where the wind current blows, and how aeroplane routes are made and they fly in the air, etc., we require to see the whole Earth, which would be not possible when we study using a globe. So for this reason, we have to divide our Earth into different parts, and it can be projected on a flat surface. As the location of the places cannot be or should not be changed, so their projection takes place in this process. And the countries nearer to the equator are shown as being smaller compared to those that are located away from the equator. So that is the reason why when we see the world map, the location of some countries like Africa and Australia seems similar to us, but the size of these continents are not similar. The size of the continent Africa is bigger than that of North America or Australia. Even the Greenland area, when they are displayed on a flat world map, it shows a bigger area, but in fact it is not that much bigger. Okay, it is smaller in size. So these are the things that changes or alters when we read or study the Earth on a globe and on a flat surface of the world map. Students, when we look at the globe, along with the continents, oceans, seas, we also see a number of lines being drawn on the globe. These lines are nothing but imaginary lines which are made by us human beings in order to make it easier for us to locate places on the surface of the Earth. When we look at the globe, we see that the top portion of the globe is named as North Pole and the bottom is known as the South Pole. These are the two directions, and likewise we have west and east as well on the globe. The North Pole and the South Pole are joined by an imaginary line which is known as the axis of the Earth, and this axis is an imaginary line which runs inside the spherical model of the globe. Along with the axis, there is also an imaginary line which divides or is drawn in the middle or midway of the globe, and it is known as the equator. This imaginary line known as the equator, it divides the Earth into the northern and southern hemisphere, and all the points on the equator itself are of 0 degree, and the angular distance from the equator to any of the two poles, that is the North Pole and the South Pole, is always 90 degree. Students, I want to add here that the imaginary line is being made for us to learn about the different locations of different continents, seas and oceans, but the real Earth has no such imaginary lines on it. It moves around its axis, which is an imaginary line, but these imaginary lines are drawn for us in order to visualize how the Earth moves. And our Earth moves in anti-clockwise direction, that is from the west direction to the east direction. The next topic of discussion is latitudes. Let me read the paragraph for you. It says, the angular distance from equator is measured as latitude. The latitude of North Pole is 90 degree north. For the South Pole, the latitude is 90 degrees south. On the globe, we see a set of lines drawn in between the poles. The direction of these lines is east-west. All these lines are parallel to the equator. These lines are called parallels of latitude and are always referred to with N or S written on them. To be exact, the degree measures is further subdivided into 60 equal parts called minutes. Each minute is further divided into 60 seconds. The latitude for Kolkata is 22 degree and 34 minutes north, and for Bangalore it will be 12 degree and 58 minutes north. Equator is the largest possible circle around the Earth. There are some other latitudes that are important and have been given special names. The parallel in the north at an angular distance of 23 degree and 30 minutes is the Tropic of Cancer. It runs almost midway through India. In the southern hemisphere, a similar situated parallel is Tropic of Capricorn. Places between the tropics get direct rays of the sun for maximum periods of the year. So, this is the hottest zone and is called Torrid Zone. The latitudes help us in dividing the Earth into zones depending on how hot they are. The region between the two tropics is the Torrid Zone. Beyond the tropics, on both sides of the equator, the midday sun never shines overhead. So, in terms of heat, the regions above the tropics are temperate. There is the North Temperate Zone between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle. Down south, a similar temperature zone exists between the Tropic of Capricorn and the Anthetic Circle. After the equator, we have another imaginary lines called as latitudes. Latitudes are a set of lines drawn in between the two poles of the globe, that is, in between the North Pole and the South Pole, and is the measurement of angular distance from the equator. The equator is always 0 degree, whereas the latitude of North Pole is 90 degree north and the latitude of the South Pole is 90 degree south. The direction of the latitude line is from east to west, and this set of lines are parallel to the equator. So as they are parallel to the equator, so they are called as the parallels of latitudes, and are also referred to with the alphabet letter N for north and S for south written after them in order to help us learn in a much better way, and it also helps us in analyzing and locating different places along with their different time zones that exist in different countries of the world. And students, to be exact on the location of some particular places, the degree measure is further divided or subdivided into 60 equal parts, which are called as minutes, which are further subdivided into seconds. And let me make it clear here that it is not similar to the time that we see in our watch or in our wall clock. It is slightly different from that, okay? And so this minutes, second, degree, minutes and second give us the exact location of a particular place. Like for example, when we are giving the location of the place Kolkata, we will read the location as the latitude for Kolkata is 22 degree and 34 minutes north, And if we are giving the location of Bangladesh, we will read it as the latitude of Bangladesh is 12 degree and 58 minutes north. Okay, so students, for today we will stop the discussion here. I will be discussing about this lesson in your next session. Till then, thank you.